Last thing here about backup producer Pete. He is fresh off a long trip to the theme parks here. Pete, show us a picture here. Backup producer Pete. Wait.
He doesn't.
What do you mean you forgot?
Classic.
Oh my God! So now I'm calling.
No Pete.
This is. I swear to God, Pete and I had a conversation last night where I was like, "Hey, get me like the goofiest, funniest picture of you," because he's got young kids. Like whether I know you went to Universal Studios or Disney. Like all of you wearing mouse ears, or like are you in front of the all with Hulk hands or whatever it is you guys did. And he's just like, "Yeah, I got the photo. I get loaded up, and I will call for it tomorrow."
Wow, that's a tough moment.
This is what happens.
Fantasy Football Happy Hour with Matthew Berry.
Welcome to Fantasy Football Happy Hour. I'm the captain today. I'm Jay Croucher, Connor Rodgers, Lawrence Jackson. Matthew Berry has been deported. He's currently in the United Kingdom, so he's not with us today, only in spirit. But because Matthew is taking up residence.
There we go right there.
There we go. I don't know why he doesn't open his mouth when he smiles.
Just the grin, like the Grinch out there.
Yeah. It's like kind of an evil pose.
Like, are you happy, Mr. Berry?
Yeah.
Like I had to take this picture.
Yeah,
kind of feel.
Some Heath Ledger, Dark Knight kind of vibes. Anyway, the United Kingdom drinks for free as they
They were willing to take him. Yeah. Brave, bold move.
Trade.
Accept him as your own.
Good trade.
Yeah. We got a conditional 2028 7th-round pick in return.
Maybe we can get Theo James or something in return for
We'll
Matthew
tell you
Berry.
what we could get.
Anyway, we have a great show coming up. We're going to talk about the top remaining free agents, give some best bets around the draft, positional totals in round one. But meat of the show, Connor, your top fantasy ranks of the guys in the draft. Let's get straight into it. Take a look at your top 10 rankings, Superflex. And headlined by,
of course,
none other than Jeremiyah Love.
A guy that's easy to love in Jeremiyah Love. He'll be, I would think, consensus the #1 player in rookie Superflex rankings. Lawrence, this is a special player. He's actually my #1 overall player in NFL draft rankings for actual football, and obviously that applies here to fantasy as well, where this guy is a dynamic player in any run scheme. He's phenomenal in the pass game. He's a home run hitter, where you'll see a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs kind of comps in that way. I think he's got more pound-for-pound strength, but maybe not the blink and he's gone ability that Gibbs has. But it's close. Lawrence, it's just an easy player to love. If you're picking at the 101, I don't see how you don't take him.
Yeah, in past years, we've had situations where, we would go back and forth with who would be the 101 in the dynasty draft. But a guy like Jeremiyah Love up against who you have at #2, Connor, Jordyn Tyson or Fernando Mendoza. Jeremiyah Love seemed like he kind of is the surest thing that you got. And the thing about him, we love in fantasy running backs who got this ability and can catch out of the backfield, but he can line up out wide and go get those receptions too. And then when you talk about him versus a Jordyn Tyson, he's a receiver who's at a more dependent position, and he's going to have to be in a certain type of situation. Fernando Mendoza, we know what team he's going to, the Raiders. They still got to get the line correct. We know what Jeremiyah Love, whatever team he gets on, he's getting somewhere between 15 and 20 touches immediately.
And I think that's an important point. Like, Jay, when you look at Jeremiyah Love and when you look at different running backs in the draft, especially rookie drafts, so much of the equation is, okay, what is the workload going to be year one, and what is the fit, and what is the usage? You just can't ask that question with Jeremiyah Love because he's too good, right? Yeah. Arizona has veteran running backs. If they took Jeremiyah Love third overall, you'd be like, well, Jeremiyah Love's the guy. Yeah. Tennessee has Tony Pollard.
Right.
You wouldn't care. You'd be like, Jeremiyah Love's the guy. Build the whole plane out of Jeremiyah Love. So the conversation with the other running backs is going to be, what is the usage? How do they get him ramped up? How do you project all those things? With Love, he comes with the instruction manual, and it's pretty easy. Give him the ball on every single down.
Yep. Do you think he goes to Tennessee?
I do. I think they're justifiably the favorite to take him. I think it makes a lot of sense for them. Give yourselves a superstar to kind of staple to a young quarterback as well. They're going to have a new stadium pretty soon as well. He's the guy on the billboard that can kind of make magic and be, that lightning player to change the game at any moment. So I would say Tennessee at 4. I thought it was interesting when New Orleans and Kansas City gave out pretty big running back contracts. Yeah. Those teams probably understood Jeremiyah Love wasn't going to make it to 8 or 9. Crazier things have happened with running backs, but I think it was very telling.
Yep. Yeah, I think for the other rookies, guys, it's just we're going to have to see where they go. like Seahawks, Texans, Vikings, teams like that, then that's when we'll start to get a little more clear picture on their value.
Yeah, we'll talk about him a bit later, but how did the success of Jadarian Price impact your scout of Jeremiyah Love?
Yeah, I think when you look at it, number one, Notre Dame, they do a good job building in the trenches, but I think on the flip side of it, a low-key thing with both of them is that they've both been highly coached up in pass protection. They both block with a low center of gravity, square shoulders. They could do that right away, where a lot of NFL coaches are like, you can't pass protect, I can't put you on the field that much. Both Price and Love could do that. What you love about both of them is that they have the big play threat ability. Now, of course, Price's touches have been limited. I think he had 119 in 2025. Did fumble 3 times, so he's got to keep the ball off the ground with that limited amount of touches. With Love, you know he can handle the workhorse workload from day one. Price is going to have to grow into that. Also with Price, he can catch the ball, Lawrence, but he wasn't asked to do it at Notre Dame. You see it in workouts. With Love, with Love, you've already had all of these things solidified and answered. With Price, as gifted as he is as a runner and kick returner, there is a little bit of projecting the other parts of his game, and that's why he's not going in the top 5 or 10 of this draft.
Right, and the thing about Jeremiyah Love, too, and he told me and you this, Connor, at the Combine, he doesn't mind coming into the league and sharing the backfield. He said, hey, whoever I potentially share the backfield with, they going to do what they do, and I'm here to do what I had to do, too. Yeah. He actually loved the fact that he was sharing the back because he said, hey, this guy could do everything that I could do, and so he kind of felt like it was a relief sometimes that you have a guy who is maybe not equal talented, but almost just as good there.
Yeah. If he does go, say, to Tennessee, and we'll see what their team success is like, but you would expect him to be a 20 carries per game guy straight away?
20 touches.
Yeah.
20
right?
touches.
Yeah, it's just so, like, you got to give him 5 targets a game, and then you get to 15 touches. You know, of course, there's the game script question with that if he's on a bad team, is Arizona. But the thing of it is, guys, if he goes to a team that's playing in bad scripts for the run, he's so good in the pass, it might actually help him blossom in fantasy when they're losing by a lot of points. It's dangerous to look at a rookie and go, oh, man, there's just not a lot that can go wrong. But with Love, besides injury, because that could just happen in the sport at any position, especially running back, it's hard to imagine where he's not a highly impactful player the moment he steps on an NFL field.
I remember there was frustration the first few weeks with Jahmyr Gibbs, but it's crazy because that first game against Kansas City, he didn't have a lot of touches, but we saw his explosiveness off the rip, and we were just like, oh, like once that happened, so we waited 4 or 5 weeks until he could get like consistently double-digit touches. That could potentially be the situation for Jeremiyah Love. Like, even if he goes out there and gets only 10 touches in week 1, I guarantee you within those 10 touches, you're going to see something to be like, oh, we need to see a little bit more of this.
Yep. All right, let's go to your number 1 wide receiver, Connor, and that is Jordyn Tyson out of Arizona State. He comes in number 6 in your top 50 prospect rankings. Why is he the number 1 guy at receiver?
This is probably where I go off of consensus, away from consensus, because he's probably not the number 2 overall player for rookie Superflex rankings. I just think he's that talented. I think he's the guy that has the best chance in this draft to be that alpha receiver, that number 1 kind of wide receiver, inside, outside. I think he's somebody that when you look at the body control, the acrobatic nature to make plays above the rim, it's funny, we constantly call Carnell Tate a big wide receiver. Jordyn Tyson is 11 pounds heavier than Carnell Tate.
I would say Carnell about 190 something.
Yeah, right. Jordyn Tyson's 203 and over 6'2". He's someone to me that he challenges at all 3 levels of the field. He got better at after the catch. He's good in the red zone. I understand the injury concerns, but you saw the production there. If you had and Carnell Tate was hurt this year, by the way, as well.
Right. Yeah.
And I understand people want to see guys run and work out during the draft process. I understand those question marks. But Jordyn Tyson has had almost 2,000 yards over the last 2 years of college football. And he bailed quarterback Sam Levitt out of some pretty rough throws as well. Lawrence, when it comes to ranking guys not only in the draft, but at wide receiver and Superflex, I'm looking for the guy with the biggest ceiling to dominate. And Jordyn Tyson, I know, can be a number 1 wide receiver when he's healthy at the NFL level.
And speaking of all that combine and running stuff, well, it's actually going to happen for Jordyn Tyson. He's going to have that private workout for NFL teams April 17th. And I think that, like, that day will be pivotal on the internet because that could just get him into the social media top 5 NFL draft. Because like you say, when you talk about the talent, you talked about his acrobatic catching. Like, the dude is like, He's a nifty athlete, good acceleration on the routes. Again, it's going to be about where he goes, what team he goes to. They've talked about both Carnell, Tate, and Jordyn Tyson going to the Browns. It's not a situation that fantasy managers would love, but either one of those guys will be the top receiver on that team immediately. So that's what in fact, his draft stock, if he goes later in the first round, that means better team.
Sure.
And that could be a situation, we take it way back to like Randy Moss, who slipped in the draft, ends up on the Vikings. You know what happened there.
Okay, question from our friend Aloha Bricks in Hawaii. What round would be a reach for Tyson, Connor?
So that would be more in a redraft format.
Right, because I haven't done a dynasty draft yet, but I think he's a first-round pick in Dynasty. Like, he got to be.
I think he's a lock.
I'm, like, hoping he get to me at 108.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's
I hope people think, like, oh, but if you're talking redraft, I would say because we don't know the team yet.
It's very difficult.
Yeah, if you ask me right now, he's a guy you take a flyer on. I'm, like, 12th round or something like that.
Right.
Because that's what round was Justin Jefferson going his rookie year? Not high. And he's, so.
Right, and if this is pre-draft, if Jordyn Tyson goes at 9 to the Chiefs, he's not a flyer anymore.
Not a flyer.
Jordyn Tyson's, 8th round pick? I mean, so.
Probably higher.
Now, probably higher. If Jordyn Tyson, man, even if he went to like the Browns at 6 or he falls in the draft, or there's just so many variables here. I think for the rookie Superflex rankings for me, I have him number 2 because I believe in the upside in the player, and I think he's the best receiver in this draft. And there's obviously some controversy there having Mendoza at 3 because if you need a quarterback, say you're picking 2nd and Jeremiyah Love's gone, right, which would be the easy tailor-made decision. But you need a quarterback. If you take Fernando Mendoza over Jordyn Tyson, I get it. I completely get it because Superflex, it's harder to get a quarterback. The quarterback position matters so much. Mendoza's a really good prospect and player. But if you're somebody that goes, I have 2 top 12 quarterbacks, and my number 3 quarterback is a starter, I need help at skill players. I'm going to shoot for the moon here. And this happens in redrafts all the time.
I'm literally in the situation you're describing. I have the number 2 overall pick in my dynasty. I got Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels. My top receiver is Zay Flowers. Then I got Khalil Shakir, Michael Wilson. So that's the guy that I'm gonna take. Unless Jadarian Price is on the Seahawks or something.
Right, that's the thing too. Of course, draft positioning can kind of alter these rankings in a big way when you start projecting out running back workloads. But yeah, I'm with you, Lawrence. It does so much with Superflex rankings and rookie drafts matters of your needs, which is weird because often you should just draft the best talent. But with quarterback situation, and there's only really one that matters so much in these rankings, that's where it can be it can vary team by team.
Okay, I like it. Staking a good name to Jordyn Tyson going out.
Yeah, absolutely am. He's not.
It's not.
You got him mocked to the Jets as well. It's all happening.
Yeah, here it is.
If he wasn't hurt at all, and like you say, you can't get those numbers always being hurt, right? If he wasn't hurt, I think the conversation would be different around him.
Okay, well, let's go.
For the better.
Let's go to someone who doesn't have that much of a conversation around him because he's just penciled into the number 1 overall pick to Vegas. That is Fernando Mendoza, who beat out Jeremiyah Love for the Heisman. He is 3rd, Connor, in your top 50 prospect rankings. He will go 1st overall to Las Vegas, barring a miracle. What kind of fantasy output are you expecting from him?
Well, he's somebody that could throw the ball down the field. And he's a smarter runner than an athletic runner. I think he kind of surprised some people with some of his runs in college this year, but it's more based on IQ and understanding the space that he has rather than you think of the dynamic athletes that have been in the drafts. Like you watch Jaden Daniels run, you watch Lamar Jackson run, you even watch Caleb Williams run this year. Like Fernando Mendoza is not going to give you that. And you're going to have to deal with some growing pains early on because the Raiders are still completely remaking this roster, especially on that offensive side of the ball. But he's somebody that, more importantly, will be able to get the ball to Brock Bowers. In Clint Kubiak's offense, he'll be able to work off of play action. He's very accurate. He could throw outside the numbers. He sees the field well. So you might have to be patient. We'll see what happens with Kirk Cousins out of the gate. But if you're thinking long-term and trying to get a top 15 quarterback in fantasy on your roster, not this year, but years 2 or 3, because of his ability as a pocket passer and the fact you could put a high volume of throwing on his plate, I mean, that's a guy that in a rookie draft is going to be a top 3 pick.
They're gonna in some way, shape, or fashion, including him starting week 1, you could still technically take it slow with a young quarterback and still have him start week 1. Remember, too, a lot of times in college he operated from the RPO system, which that's not going to be the case there when he gets to the league. You got a running back there that you just took 6 overall. But the thing that if you're considering taking Fernando Mendoza, this is what you think about, like, right? Think about what the team is doing. What kind of moves have they made before drafting the quarterback? Kind of like what we saw with Caleb Williams his first year, right? They didn't get the immediate jump, but Caleb Williams, his rookie year, he was fantasy relevant. There were weeks that you had to start him, and now you have a guy that, you know, he could run for 400, 500 yards. But I think in his rookie year, I'm going to agree with you here, Connor, he will be good enough to where it doesn't affect a guy like Brock Bowers. For whatever receivers they have, you're going to have to see that. But Brock Bowers should be safe in that situation.
Yep. Do you think a more mobile Jared Goff is a fair assessment of Mendoza?
Yeah, he falls somewhere in that range at his best, where he's Goff, Matt Ryan type of player. Okay. Like that's what it's kind of ironic too that Kirk Cousins is there now, because there's some similarities to Kirk Cousins as well, when Cousins was fully healthy and not declining.
Yeah, it feels like those guys, those 3 guys, Goff, Cousins, and Ryan, they never had just the ability to make that run that Mendoza did in the national title game against Miami. Just a little bit more burst, even though he doesn't look super quick, just the willingness.
Goff, definitely not with Goff. Younger Matt Ryan at BC moved better than people remember now, but
even his first few years in the league.
Yeah. Right, but still, foot speed, he's got a little bit more where it's like, can you give me 15 to 20 rushing yards? He's big, which means he can quarterback sneak at the 1-yard line. I mean, he's 6'5",
he run it down there at the goal line.
Right.
Even from outside the goal line, like he'll, again, RPO, he would keep. Yeah. He'll dive right on in there.
Yeah, he also seems just fearless, for better or worse, with no regard for his
That's a big part of his game. Yeah. When you got to have it, you make that outside comeback throw, you know, or the back shoulder throw, like he got that.
Yeah, also a fearlessness seemingly in the passing game as well. I think back to some of those throws against Ohio State in the Big Ten title game, like airing it out on third downs, not going for the kill shot, and not just taking the easy layups. All right, Lawrence, we'll start with you on this one. Number 4 for Connor is Carnell Tate, wide receiver out of Ohio State. How does he compare to Jordyn Tyson for you?
Well, the way I talked about Jordyn Tyson and him being like a niftier wide receiver, although Carnell Tate's not big, we just talked about it, he's like 195. He does have strong hands, runs good routes. So he's not as shifty as the other guy, but still a guy you could get in there. And again, depending on what team, he walks in and he's their number 1 receiver. Hell, it's a few of these guys that'll walk into Cleveland right now and be that number 1 guy. Carnell Tate is one of them, but I'm actually with Connor in going with Jordyn Tyson above Carnell Tate, but that doesn't mean you don't want Carnell Tate, right? We see the catch and run ability. We know he's not a blazer, but we still know he could get downfield and catch those 50-50 balls, strong hands. So again, just a matter of what team he goes to. And again, another guy I feel like is an easy first-round pick in these dynasty drafts.
Builds up speed more than out-of-the-gate rocket fuel. And, of course, now it's fascinating with Carnell Tate, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, Lawrence. When you look at the landing spot, it's like, do you want him to go to the Browns where he's the number 1 right away, but the infrastructure for the pass game is unproven right now? Or do you want him to go to the Giants or the Saints as the number 2, but the infrastructure of the pass game is more, like we saw really good moments out of Jackson Dart and Tyler Shuck, and believe in the coaching staffs there as well. That's the weird one when projecting Carnell Tate in fantasy.
When you talk about when you put those 3 teams out there, I'm just, because look, these guys have all played 1 year. I'm going to put them with the quarterback who I think will be the best 5 years down the line, and that's Shador. Also, you think about the fact that the Browns are in the AFC North. You know, could they improve this year? Hell yeah, they can improve. But there could also be situations where they're in that type of game script where, you know, oh, this Carnell Tate time. Because when Tyler Shuck first got in there for the Saints, they were doing that. And that's when we were like, oh, Chris Olave getting numbers now.
Right.
But then it start turning into like the Saints actually getting some wins. And that's where you saw Tyler Shuck game kind of come up there. But in that particular situation, like, you don't want to have to battle with Malik Neighbors. You don't want to have to battle with Chris Olave. I'd rather him just like, hey, we can battle with Harold Fanning. We can handle that.
Yep. Do you think Sanders is going to be the Week 1 starter in Cleveland?
It's a lot of Deshaun Watson chatter that I did not expect.
Ain't it though? All of us, like 6 months ago, it was like, get Deshaun Watson out the league.
Right.
Now it's like, but I mean, they got the contract.
Yeah.
They're still holding out the hope for them Houston Texan days.
Yep.
They're not coming back.
Monken likes to throw the ball down the field, and Deshaun at his best threw the ball down the field. It just feels so far away from that.
Yeah.
It does.
I mean, Deshaun Watson was last good in 2020.
I would say I didn't work here when Deshaun Watson was last good.
I was doing something completely different in my life.
Yeah, and I think it's something as well where it's not like he's out of rhythm. His body just seems broken.
Right.
Like he doesn't have the physical capacity to operate at the same level that he did in that last Houston season. All right, let's go to number 5 in your rankings, Connor. That is Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver out of Indiana. You currently have him mocked to the Panthers to pair with Teteroa McMillan. How does he profile?
I love this player, man. Can play inside and outside, and he's so damn good with the ball in his hands. A lot of people like to go to Deebo Samuel comparisons too easily, but when you look at how unique he is after the catch, Omar Cooper is going to get a lot of that. He forced 24 missed tackles during the 2025 regular season after the catch. So you get him in space, he's dangerous. He's a real weapon in the screen game. But you can't just be that manufactured touches merchant. You need to be able to do this, is get down the field, track the ball, and make plays on throws down the field, because then it opens up everything underneath. And then, I mean, once again, like, this is pound for pound strength to run through people, run around people. Indiana had a really, really talented skill group of players. I would argue Omar Cooper Jr. was the best of them. When I talked to his teammate, D'Angelo Pons, who had to cover him in practice every single week, Pons lit up and was like, his release package reminds me of Devontae Adams.
You talking Indiana offense or Indy? Because I will take, as players, I'm taking D'Angelo Pons.
Just the offense.
Oh, yeah. I don't think that would. Yeah, that's definitely not a question. Good guy, Connor, against the zone, right? I think that's one of the better parts of his game, running the routes against the zone there. From a dynasty perspective, if he is to be drafted by the Carolina Panthers, like Connor does have him in his mock draft, you will have to be patient from a fantasy perspective, because you got Teteroa McMillan, who we now know he's a 1,000-yard receiver. The Panthers drafted him to be that. If they took Omar Cooper there out of the gate, he wouldn't be expected to be that. Could he turn into a guy who could produce like Amon-Ra? Probably, but Bryce Young hasn't produced 2 wide receivers in fantasy that give you great numbers like that.
Ryan Oswald, it's like King Henry out there catching the ball. The dude is a tank.
Let me throw this one at you guys. I want both of you to answer. Lawrence first. His draft range, these are kind of spots that pop up. What do you think is the best for his fantasy output right away? Jets at 16, the Panthers at 19, Steelers at 21, Browns at 24.
Jets.
I think I'd agree. If they're throwing a lot with Geno.
I can't see how they won't throw.
Panthers, though, if he's the real number 2 over Leggett right away.
What about?
I think the Panthers like Coker more than they like Leggett.
I would agree. So do their fans.
What about, to Ryan Oswald's point, why not pair him with Derrick Henry in Baltimore at 14?
The door should be open.
He that type of guy.
Yeah.
He that type of guy.
Him and Zay together. Baltimore, I think, is going to take a pass catcher. I do.
Yeah.
I don't know which one. I think Sadiq starts there, too.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be an Omar Cooper, though, because they're different type of players, but they use Zay Flowers a lot of the same ways. So if they were going to get a receiver, it would be more like a Denzel Boston type of guy who we'll talk about shortly.
Right.
What's the deal with Rashad Bateman? Is he just done? Like, he had an awesome year 2 years ago, and then he's banged up again, and it's
hard player to figure out.
Yeah,
he has these weeks where he wins you the week, and then he has stretches where he doesn't play.
He gonna have 2 catches, 74 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh yeah, I started him on purpose. You didn't want to though.
Yeah, I mean, to go from in Lamar's 41 touchdown, 4 interception season where he loses MVP by 4 votes, that was largely because of Bateman and Flowers in the passing game. And then last year, it's he's just completely anonymous. Unsighted. It's Zay Flowers or bust in the passing game. So, hopefully the Ravens can find another pass catcher. Let's move to Makai Lemon, wide receiver out of USC, in a kind of similar tier for you, Connor, as Omar Cooper.
Yeah, absolutely. With Lemon, definitely landing spot dependent when you're talking about fantasy. He's really, really reliable. He'll work the middle of the field. I think he's pigeonholed to the slot. He's not very big. He's not very fast. He's more crafty in the middle of the field. He's got good pound-for-pound strength. He does play bigger than his size at the catch point. But I think his draft slot in fantasy is so largely dependent on where he goes. If he goes to the Rams at 13,
Watch out.
Oh my God, you're jumping for joy because Devontae Adams is going to miss time. There's a lot going on with Puka Nacua right now, and Lemon can get that timing down with Stafford working routinely from the slot. If he goes somewhere else where the passing game is a little bit more volatile and he doesn't create the same way, in my opinion, as Omar Cooper, I know some will argue this. Right, I mean, once again, working through contact.
Strong hands.
To me, he's not like Tyson where he can line up as the number one and just dominate almost from any alignment and situation. But he is somebody that can be a number 2 in terms of volume, moving the chains. I just don't know if he scores a lot of touchdowns early on in his career.
He could to have a Amon-Ra St. Brown type production in the next few years shouldn't surprise anyone. In fact, if he does go to a team like the Rams, that's exactly where they're going to put him. That's exactly how they're going to use him. But like you said, Connor, if he played that same role on a different team with a different quarterback, then the situation could be different for him. We know he's tough. We know he's got the strong hands. We just saw that there. We know he could run the routes in the zone coverage. We know he played outside. So even though he won't do that in the league, you still know that his mindset is like, I'm that type of dude.
Yep. Do you think the Rams do end up going pass catching? Because they're a team, you look at their roster, it's like their one weakness was corner.
They better get some corners.
And then they got McDuffie and Jalen Watson to basically fix that. They obviously have defensive line sorted. The offense is loaded, but they are potentially missing that third guy.
I think they do. It's just fascinating Makai Lemon is in the mock draft, in every mock draft of the Rams at 13. When you start to see something form to this point of consensus, you're like, there's just no way it can happen. Nah. I don't know. Maybe they trade out. Maybe they surprise us and take Omar Cooper. Does Jordyn Tyson make it to them? And they're like, we'll figure it out. We'll keep him on the field. Obviously, it's a consensus pick, but I just can't assume that's going to happen right now.
Our friend Valiant Vincent, hey, finally, this guy's going to be so good. I know he's not elite speed-wise, but he's such a good route guy and so good in space with his hands. He's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I think he'll be. My thing with Makai Lemon is I think he'll be a good player. I think that I struggle finding the ceiling for him to be one of when we bring up Amon-Ra, you look at the top receivers in the NFL. If they're not big, they're so explosive. Yep. I don't view him as that kind of athlete. I think he'll be a good player.
Yep.
But I do think if you're taking him, if the Saints take him, he needs to be great.
Yep.
Even if the Rams is a little different because you just believe in the infrastructure so much.
I actually, you talked about Jordyn Tyson or Carnell Tate, one of them possibly on the Saints. I actually would like Makai Lemon there more on that particular team than those other guys because you already have that Chris Olave guy. Those other two, those top two are closer to Olave. You need that type of player like a Makai Lemon to kind of get in that middle of the field, just be that. And, he ain't, what is he, 5'10", 195?
It's like a 4.55-ish kind of guy.
He could be what type of numbers Wes Welker used to have? 110, or Edelman, 110 for barely over 1,000 yards. He could be that type dude.
PPR dominator.
I like it. All right, Lawrence Jadarian Price, number 7 for Connor. How do you view kind of the Notre Dame infrastructure as being, somewhat responsible for Jadarian Price and how do you separate his talent?
I think that Jeremiyah Love was so good that Jadarian Price just couldn't be a 1,200-yard back at Notre Dame. I know people said similar things like this a couple years back with Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson? No, hell nah. But with these two, like I'm actually looking for Jadarian Price to go at the end of the first round.
Yeah,
man.
I'm with you.
I think he's the second best. It's close for that second best, but I think he is because he's got good acceleration. Oh, he does kick returning, so he's versatile. Like Connor said earlier, he can catch the ball out of the backfield, which is why they have him doing kick returns. He's a versatile back. He can accelerate. He's not getting caught down the field. Ran the 4.4 at the combine. It's just that he ended up, being on the same team. But even with being on Jeremiyah Love's team, we all still see his talent enough. And Jeremiyah Love told us himself. Yeah. Like, we still saw the amount of talent he has, and that's why he's a guy who's going to go in the first or second round.
Yeah. What do you think his capacity is to be a kind of workhorse back?
That's where you wonder, right? Because, number one, if you had 119 touches, you can't fumble 3 times. Yeah. That's not because then if you say you double those touches, you go to 240 and you fumble 6 times, eventually your workload's going to go down. Coaches just aren't going to deal with that. So, and he's one of those guys that he's got massive arms that you almost wonder sometimes, like, his ball security an issue. I know it's a weird thing, but
too swole over
it almost is. Remember the Peyton Hillis?
yeah.
So, I mean, keep the ball off the ground. But, man, you look at, and so that says Jadarian Price to what? The problem is the Commanders don't have day 2 capital the way they need.
So they're praying for
fall?
the possibility of Jeremiyah Love. But, yeah, if they don't have a day 2 pick, they got no shot unless they find a trade.
Like, here's 2 places that are realistic where Jadarian Price can go up so much higher in these rankings because all of a sudden he becomes a 210-touch player. That is a huge factor in fantasy. Seattle at 32, like Lawrence is saying. Can he find his way into the first round? How about Houston at 38? By the way, that was the Commanders' pick from the Laramie Tunsil trade. I mean, David Montgomery's a good player, but when you look at the explosiveness and the big playability and that zone gliding ability that Jadarian Price has, those are 2 spots where people would look at and go, wow, Price is going to be a big deal this year. He has the highest range of outcomes out of this list of 10 players in a rookie Superflex draft.
Yep. Do you think the Texans that just don't view Woody Marks as the guy to pair with Dave Montgomery?
He kind of fell into a role that was higher than what you expect. He's a good pass-catching back that all of a sudden we need to hand him the ball on first down because we just don't have bodies.
Yeah. Whenever I watch Woody Marks, it's like, all right, solid player, and it never seems like he runs for more than 6 yards.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
All right. Burks, NFL Flannels, who is the pro comparison to Price?
That's a good question. I haven't landed on one yet for Price, but let's make sure we revisit that one.
Okay.
We'll definitely revisit that one.
We'll revisit that. Let's go ahead to Denzel Boston, though, wide receiver out of Washington. Potential landing spot, 26 to the Bills to pair with DJ Moore and friends. That's where Connor has him mocked right now in terms of his Big Ten ranks. Last season, 8th in receptions, 5th in receiving yards, tied for 4th in receiving touchdowns. What do you like about Denzel Boston?
Man, just you talk about big body target that constantly tracks the ball and plucks it at the high point and constantly plays above defensive backs to climb the ladder. He's got enough speed. The 6'8" 3-cone is phenomenal for his size. So he has the agility. He's not stiff at that size and weight. And I mean, come on, there it is right there.
It's the routes for me, Connor.
Yep.
Versus whatever type of coverage. I think that was man there. This is man here. Like, if you're a cornerback and you're on that big receiver, you're thinking like, oh, I could sit on this route. But no, you can't. That's why you just saw him get some separation at the goal line where as the defensive back, the goal, like the out of bounds is your friend in that point.
Right.
But him being able to still get separation, obviously have the strong hands at the end of it. This is the type of guy where if you look around the league right now, like I said, he would be more of the type of receiver that I would hope that the Ravens would go after as opposed to like a Makai Lemon type of guy. If they were going to go receiver, this is the type of dude they should go for because they don't have this particular skill set on their roster. And you get a guy like Denzel Boston on the Ravens or even on the Bills. I know they just got DJ Moore, but he's 29 years old, and who knows how they feel about Kenyon Coleman right now. You get Denzel Boston on that team, and now we talking about something.
And I've noticed some scar tissue from Bills fans when you put Denzel Boston here, because they're like, I don't want to go through the Kenyon Coleman experience again. It's a different player. He was asked to do so much more for Washington. They lined him up everywhere, from out wide to the slot to the backfield to almost like an H-back kind of role in motion. And the fact is that he's just a more complete player. When you watch Kenyon Coleman in college, it was catch a screen and run through people, run down the field and try to win a jump ball. Denzel Boston, as Lawrence went through, ran a full route tree. He's played from multiple alignments. He's got a really good skill set where he tracked the ball and caught it above the rim and catches it at its highest point. You see him plucking it away from his body. He's a better athlete. So if I was a Bills fan, I would not have that fear of this being Kenyon Coleman all over again.
I would say the only thing, you mentioned Kenyon Coleman getting the screens and running. I would say run after catch is probably the only thing that he's got Denzel Boston. But we don't ever get to see Kenyon Coleman run after the damn catch.
You got to be on the field.
You got to play.
Indeed. Well, the guy who's going to be on the field straight away, Lawrence, is Kenyon Sadiq. Seen him rumored to Baltimore as potential Isaiah Likely replacement and Mark Andrews' successor. What do you like about Kenyon Sadiq?
I like that he's physical. We obviously know that he's fast and explosive from the combine, right? But just a physical guy over there. Look at him reach up, get the ball with his hands. Strongest hands. I don't know, Connor. How many guys in this draft do you think have stronger hands than Kenyon Sadiq? I don't know if there's any right there.
No, not many. I mean, we just talked about Denzel Boston. Lemon, for his size, it's wildly impressive, but the point stands, Lawrence. This is a unique athlete. You're talking about 4.39 wheels, can jump through the gym. He's got a great demeanor as a blocker where you could put him on the field in run game situations, maybe more as an H-back, maybe from the slot in motion on the perimeter. But this is someone with a bigger ceiling than he had at what he did at the college level, at the pro level, because he's such a unique athlete, and he is really talented with the ball in his hands.
Okay, Bobby Showtime, dream landing spot for Sadiq. Connor, has to be Baltimore.
Dream is San Francisco. He's just not going to make it there anymore.
Yeah.
But Baltimore's where I had him in my last mock draft because it feels like that's when the door opens for him to be taken, and that's a good landing spot.
That's when the door opens.
Yeah, that's a good spot for him. But if you want, like, the tailor-made, I mean, man, Kyle Shanahan knows how to use an athlete like this, and I just don't think he's going to make it there anymore.
No, if he gets there, he will at least be talked about doing certain type of things like what Tyler Warren did his rookie year. I won't go as far as to say Brock Bowers, because that was a record-setting rookie year, and he was really different at that position. But I would say this, Kenyon Sadiq going in the first round, as a tight end, there's a plan for you. And as much as we, talk about the failures or not living up to expectations for Kyle Pitts, when he was drafted as a top 5 overall pick, Kyle Pitts at the end of the year had 1,000 receiving yards to his name. So Kenyon Sadiq going in the first round, that means he should, no matter where he goes, he's getting used.
Okay, let's close it out. The top 10 with Jonah Coleman, running back out of Washington. Connor, how closely do you have him tiered with guys like Jadarian Price?
Yeah, it feels like Love, Price, and then Jonah are all kind of in a tier of their own, but man, he really does remind me of Josh Jacobs, and he said it himself at the NFL Combine to us, Lawrence. But the bowling ball, I mean, this guy, once again, like, he is 30 pounds of muscle in a 10-pound sack. It is wild how dense he is. 5'8.5", I believe. Sure, just like Josh Jacobs.
But he's stocky, though.
Doesn't have great speed. He'll run through. He's got good feet. I care more about the short area quickness than the long speed at the running back position. Soft hands, really tough dude, hard-nosed player, brings a different attitude to your offense. If he was this year, he's going to be drafted earlier than this, so it's not fair. But if he was this year's Kyle Monungai, no one should be surprised where it's like halfway through the season, they just got to find a way to get Jonah Coleman on the field, and he's catching dump-offs, and he's a red zone weapon in terms of punching in touchdowns. This is a really damn good football player.
And you know why Kyle Monungai get on that field, because not only can he run, he could pass protect, and that's probably the best aspect of Jonah Coleman's game, and that's why you mentioned earlier, that's how you stay on the field as a young running back, being able to pass protect. And we've seen him light these linebackers up, and he got that low body to the ground. He's stocky. He'll find his way on the field, so just got to see what team he's on.
Yep. All right, looks like we have a comment before we hit our first break. And Jonathan Medici. 7, if Price fumbles because his arms are so big, does Barry fumble solo cups because his arms are so small? Hashtag Diet Coke.
You go with that.
Good research, Medici.
Yeah.
Nice job by your analytics department.
What did you say? 30 pounds of muscle and a 10-pound sack?
Yeah,
Matthew Berry sees 10 pounds of muscle and a 30-pound sack, so to speak.
That's
All right,
right.
we're going to hit our first break. When we come back, we'll talk about the biggest fantasy names still out there in free agency and where we want them to end up. Sunday Night Baseball. Jose Ramirez and the Guardians are heading to Atlanta to take on Ronald Acuna Jr. and the Braves. Sunday Night Baseball live on NBC and Peacock. All right, let's talk about the most notable remaining free agents.
What a group.
Aaron Rodgers headlines the list, followed by the likes of
He really
Tyreek
a free
Hill.
agent?
I kind of view him as separate to the whole NFL free agent infrastructure. He just kind of exists out there. Tyreek Hill, Stefon Diggs, Deebo Samuel, Jauan Jennings, Keenan Allen, and David Njoku. Plenty of pass catches as well as Aaron Rodgers. Let's start off with Jauan Jennings, Lawrence, who is a really strange player to get your head around because he's shown such good flashes in San Francisco with Brock Purdy. It felt like he was almost like a caricature of an injured person last season, all the different things that he was dealing with. But he still does have upside. Where would you like to see him land?
Again, one of these teams that, we just talked about Rashad Bateman. You asked what was the deal with him. I think we would know if a guy like Jauan Jennings went there. I don't see him going with a team like the Rams. I could see him with a team like the Chiefs and kind of just like resurrecting some. Oh, now he's healthy again. We're talking about Jauan Jennings. This is a guy who, when all the receivers were hurt, this guy went on to have 970 plus receiving yards in a season when he didn't even start every game. So he's shown that he can be a number one receiver on a top tier team. I'm actually kind of shocked that he's not on the team as we sit here today. I think there was some reports saying like he asked for too much money or something like that. But I think at this point now he's really just like kicking back, like, let's see who draft who. And then, I'll pick my team there. But he's one of the guys on this list who could have like some real fantasy relevancy once he gets picked
How
up.
good do you think he is?
It's a weird one, right? Because he definitely punched above his draft slot. there's always the Kyle Shanahan factor. He takes a beating with his play style. I mean, we were joking last year, the amount of injuries he was playing through is impressive. But I think he's a really solid number 2 receiver. I mean, here's one for me, Lawrence. If the Eagles really did trade A.J. Brown, why would you not take a flyer on Jauan Jennings to be the number 2 to Devontae Smith?
100%. And to be honest, it could be better for the Eagles offense because now you got a true number 1 still in A.J. Brown who can go somewhere where he could get exactly what he's perceived to want. And then you have more of a player who can do some of the things that A.J. Brown could do, probably at a little lower level.
Yep.
But it'll also give Devontae Smith the chance to be the wide receiver 1 that we know he is pretty much. So I think that's the best one, actually, if A.J. Brown is off the Eagles.
Okay, Stefon Diggs, Connor, quietly had, well, not so quietly, he had a very good season, number 1 pass catcher on a team that made the Super Bowl. I thought that on a per-play basis, he was excellent for the Patriots and what they needed, but he just wasn't out on the field an immense amount of the time in terms of his snaps per game.
Yeah, I think McDaniels kind of got the most out of this signing with the role that he had. Man, you look at it, it's a tricky one to figure out, right? Because it is a limited role, but he's still a highly effective player. I mean, are the Niners too crowded right now with veterans after adding Mike Evans and Christian Kirk? Ricky Pearsall misses so much time.
Yeah.
That, like, if you're Kyle Shanahan, you're like, you know what? We're just going to be a veteran wide receiver group for a year to get us by to another draft class.
I would say it's a little more crowded than what the Patriots were in. Again, like, you look at the overall numbers with Stefon Diggs, 18 fantasy points per game in his 8 games with at least 6 targets. The problem is those games when he didn't get the 6 targets, and even some of the games where he did get those 6 targets, the numbers would just be so low. You would get those 3 for 29-yard games, but then he had that game early in the season versus Buffalo where he went 12 for 146, and it was, oh, snap, like Stefon Diggs is going to go on. So he would put together a lot of those 55-yard games, and boom, you end up with 1,000 yards. So between him and Jauan Jennings, I think you get more consistency from a guy like Jennings as opposed to Diggs. I actually think it's a chance he end up back in New England.
Yep. Lawrence, Deebo Samuel, a quiet bounce-back season for him. I thought the most important thing and the most important stat is just 16 games played. He was able to stay healthy.
Yeah, and it's actually crazy because he played the 16 games, but then he got the 72 catches for the 700 yards. The 5 touchdowns, a lot of those came early in the season. So if it was like, if you drafted him as your wide receiver 3, like, you was living it up. But then the quarterback changes start happening. Jaden Daniels was in and out with Marcus Mariota, so he couldn't really get a good rhythm with any of the quarterbacks. And now he back out there in them streets, and the more you be out there on them streets, it's like the value kind of gets lower. He showed he could still play. It'll be all about situation now for Deebo because now we know he's not going in to be a top guy for that team.
Here's one for you. I mean, Atlanta needs another receiver, man, that can handle some manufactured touches.
Yeah, some slot activity, allow Drake London to get on the outside a bit more. Tyreek Hill, Connor, who had a very rough 2024 compared to expectations, looked okay in 2025, but now coming off a pretty traumatic injury.
That's where is he injury-wise? This looked severe when it happened. I mean, to me with Tyreek, I know it's the low-hanging option. I get it, but like, let him rehab his injury as long as he needs. And if you're Kansas City, where you know the playbook, you have a rapport with the quarterback and the organization, Tyreek, can you be ready for November, December, the playoffs for us? I mean, seriously, that's the best option for both sides because he doesn't need to do anything the first half of the season, and you don't need a mental acclimation to the plays or the quarterback chemistry.
Yep.
So just go back to Kansas City and end on a high note.
Do we have any type of, like, where is he? Have they said, like, hey,
nothing.
He could be training camp or half the season? Like, that's really what it comes down to. Because I would say this, and this is as someone who drafted him and was hurt. Like, I was hurt, when he got hurt in the League of Assholes, like, he was one of my guys. I'm like, oh, this is kind of going a little bit better than I expected. Once we know what's going on with him, I will take that chance again on Tyreek because he looked good before he got hurt. The Dolphins' offense didn't, but he did. So I would take that flyer, see what team he ends up on, see what the health is like. I think he still got it. The dude, just last summer, this dude was going out there running 10 ones in the 100 for fun. So he still got the speed, so we'll see.
Yeah, Lawrence, Keenan Allen, this is stunning to me. Keenan Allen last year had more targets than A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Tedderall McMillan, Nico Collins. And he didn't do a ton of the time. He looked awesome in the first month of the season, had some great games. And then it was obviously such a mash unit in LA. But ultimately, I think that, he finished wide receiver 29 and was able to stay healthy the whole season. So a pretty good season for Keenan.
If you tell me Keenan Allen going to be wide receiver 35, I'll take him again, put him at the end of my bench. The thing is, I think a reason for a lot of that success is having the relationship with Justin Herbert. And earlier in the season, Justin Herbert relied heavily on Keenan Allen because that was his guy. We got down the stretch. He went away from him. The offensive line got worse, and his production fell off. It's probably why he's not on the team now, because they're kind of trying to go with these younger guys.
Yep. Okay, last one. Connor, your quarterback, because once a Jet, always a Jet. Aaron Rodgers, I just presume that he's going to go back to Pittsburgh.
Yeah, everybody does. We don't even really give it attention anymore.
You don't seem that excited.
Can you get the ball to Michael Pittman and DK Metcalf, and maybe they take another pass catcher?
It's the most uninspiring.
There's no ceiling. His style of football at this age.
And he played good, like decent football.
Yeah. Right.
But if they don't have him, what chance they got?
They could have had 50 drives against the Texans in that playoff game and not scored a touchdown. It just genuinely felt absolutely impossible. Now, I understand the Texans' defense is a group of monsters, but still, there just doesn't seem to be any upside left. Rodgers doesn't want to get hit, and the infrastructure around him isn't quite perfect enough for him to really throw.
The only good thing is he still throws touchdowns.
Yeah.
So if you're in a Superflex league, somehow he is a rosterable, is that a word, rosterable?
Yeah.
Viable.
In fantasy it is.
In this show it is, where we don't even speak the English perfectly.
19th best quarterback in the NFL. He's fine. There's just no ceiling.
He gets some time. He can even still roll out some and make
still got the arm. All right, we're going to hit our last break. When we come back, last call, best bets for NFL draft positional totals. New customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the app and use promo code FFHH when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours.
The crown is yours.
Okay, just waiting for it. All right, let's take a
Keep
look
you on their
at
toes.
these positions taken in the first round, over-unders for 2026 NFL Draft. There are going to be a wealth of these markets leading up to the draft, which is always pretty wild from a betting perspective. Quarterbacks lined at 1.5 with the over the favorite. Running backs expecting 1.5 is the number there. The under is -800. Wide receivers lined at 5.5. Tight ends 1.5, but the under is -2,000. I'm going to take under 5.5 wide receivers. I think it's the 5 guys that we talked about in your top 10, Connor.
Tyson, Tate, Lemon, Cooper, Boston.
Yep.
Concepcion had a little cleanup on his knee that maybe
took under.
Under 5.5.
Okay.
Yeah, you need one of Concepcion. That's really it. Yeah, I like that money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lawrence, what do you got?
I may be getting over my britches here. I didn't know that under 1.5 running backs is -800, but I'm still gonna go over. I'm still gonna go over 1.5. I think the Seahawks are in play here.
Yeah.
I think the Houston Texans are in play here. If you want to get a little bit funny and go early in the draft, Minnesota, even though I expect them to make that move in a later round. You got the Steelers there, too. They could use another running back, but I'm banking on the end of the draft we see a running back taken there.
To back up your thought process, Lawrence, the NFL likes Jadarian Price a lot better than consensus media and fans. I think even if maybe he goes top 40 instead of first round, but I think he has a real shot to go in the first round. I'll chase value here like you guys are doing. I'm going to go under 1.5 quarterbacks in the first round. Mendoza's going. We know that. Mm-hmm. And sure, somebody could trade back in for Ty Simpson. I just can't find the place on paper right now.
I don't feel like you could get him in the next.
Right. I don't think the Jets are doing it at 16. I don't think the Steelers are doing it in the 20s. Jets are at 33. Arizona's at 34. One of those teams could move in to get him. I just don't think he's viewed that way where we have to go get this guy. And this, once again, is chasing value. It's plus 155. I'd have this even.
Yep.
I would have this as a total pick between these. I'm kind of shocked by this.
Okay, I like it. I like when you're shocked, Connor. All right, we are done for today. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, have fun in England. Matthew Berry, let him back into the country. US immigration. We'll see you next week.